Have you ever wondered, what am I to my family? Am I the responsible one who works hard? Or am I just the one who has to sacrifice everything to keep the peace? Behind every decision, how much pain do you silently bear? This girl is no different from you, fighting to keep what she earned. But just when she thought she could rest, everything comes crashing down. And it's her own sister who drags her into an endless battle. Before continuing the story, tell me which city you are watching from. I want to know how far this video has come. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so I can send you exciting stories like this every day. I, 22F, need some advice about my current family situation. I recently graduated from college and started working at a major company in my hometown. I still live with my parents, both 50, and my older sister, 24F. I know it's quite long, but please bear with me as I need to explain the whole situation. Last month, I finally bought my first car with my own savings from my new job. It's nothing fancy, just a reliable used Toyota that I can use for commuting. However, this purchase has caused a major crisis in my family. My sister, who has been living at home since graduating college 2 years ago without working, suddenly demanded that I give her my car. Her reason? She got her driver's license before me, so she deserves it more. What's even more frustrating is that our parents are completely supporting her demand. Let me provide some background about our family dynamics. Ever since I can remember, my sister has been treated as the delicate one who needs special care. Our parents constantly justify her behavior by saying she's emotionally sensitive. Meanwhile, I've always been told to compromise and adjust my behavior to avoid upsetting her. She dropped out of several jobs because they were too stressful for her, and our parents never pushed her to try again. They cover all her expenses and even give her a monthly allowance. When I suggested she should look for work, my parents lectured me about being unsympathetic to her mental state. Throughout my childhood and teenage years, I had to give up many things to keep my sister happy. If I got something new, she would throw tantrums until our parents made me give it to her. They always sided with her, saying things like, "You know your sister is sensitive," or "Can't you be more understanding?" I worked part-time jobs throughout college to save money, while my sister spent her time at home, mostly online. Our parents paid for her education, but I had to take out student loans because there wasn't enough money left. Now I'm working hard to pay off those loans while also trying to build my own life. The current situation reached a new level when my grandmother, 77F, found out about the car incident. She was visiting when my sister was having one of her tantrums about the car, and she was horrified by what she saw. My grandmother pulled me aside and asked about other similar incidents. After hearing about our family dynamics, my grandmother was furious. She decided to buy me a high-end laptop for work, saying I deserve something nice for all my hard work. This has made things even worse at home. Now my sister is demanding the laptop too, claiming it's unfair that I get nice things while she has nothing, despite the fact that our parents buy her whatever she wants. My parents are pressuring me to give her both the car and the laptop for the sake of family peace. I'm at my wit's end. Every day, my sister throws tantrums, screaming about how I'm showing off my success to hurt her. My parents constantly guilt-trip me, saying I'm being selfish and causing family discord. The atmosphere at home is unbearable. I've been staying late at work just to avoid going home, but I can't keep living like this. My sister has started threatening to make me regret not giving her what she wants, and our parents just tell me to be understanding. I don't want to give up my car or laptop. They represent my hard work and independence. But the constant pressure and hostile environment at home are taking a toll on my mental health. I'm starting to question whether I'm being unreasonable. Am I wrong for not giving in to my sister's demands? Update 1. I decided to have a proper talk with my grandmother. She invited me to lunch at a quiet restaurant downtown, away from my family's interference. I wasn't planning to tell her everything, but once I started talking, I couldn't stop. I told her about my childhood, how my sister would destroy my belongings if I didn't give them to her, how our parents would punish me for provoking her by succeeding at school or making friends. I explained how they forced me to hide in my room whenever my sister was having a bad day, which was almost every day. My grandmother was in tears as I described the years of emotional abuse. She had noticed some favoritism during family gatherings, but had no idea how bad things were behind closed doors. She asked why I never told her before, and I explained how our parents had threatened to kick me out if I ever complained to relatives. The conversation with my grandmother was healing. For the first time, someone was validating my feelings and telling me that none of this was my fault. She was especially disturbed when I mentioned that my sister had been physically aggressive in the past, though I'd always managed to lock myself in my room before she could hurt me. My grandmother insisted on taking immediate action. She called her lawyer friend for advice and started making arrangements for me to move out. I was scared, but also felt hopeful for the first time in years. However, everything went horribly wrong when I returned home. My sister was waiting in my room. Apparently, she had seen me getting into our grandmother's car and had been stewing about it all afternoon. The moment I walked in, she started screaming about how I was trying to turn the family against her. I tried to leave the room, but she blocked the door. When I reached for my phone, she snapped. She grabbed my hair and slammed my face into the wall. The pain was excruciating. I felt my nose crack and blood started pouring down my face. I screamed for help, but when our parents came running, they just stood there in shock. My sister was still hitting me, screaming that this was my fault for betraying the family. It was my grandmother, who had followed me home worried about my safety, who finally intervened. She pulled my sister off me and called 911. By then, I was barely conscious from the pain. The paramedics arrived first, followed by the police. My sister tried to tell them I had attacked her, but the evidence was clear. I had a broken nose and multiple contusions, while she didn't have a scratch on her. The police arrested my sister for assault. Our parents begged them not to take her, saying she was fragile and didn't mean it. They even tried to blame me, saying I must have provoked her. The officers weren't buying it, especially after seeing my injuries and hearing my grandmother's testimony. I'm writing this from my grandmother's house, where I've been staying since being released from the hospital. The doctors documented all my injuries, and my grandmother's lawyer is helping me file for a restraining order against my sister. My parents haven't even called to ask how I'm doing. Instead, they've been sending angry texts about how I'm destroying the family by pressing charges. They're more concerned about my sister having a record than about the fact that she broke my nose. The lawyer is also looking into filing charges against my parents for years of child neglect and endangerment. My grandmother has been gathering evidence, including text messages where they threatened to kick me out if I told anyone about the abuse. I'm still in a lot of pain, both physically and emotionally. The hospital gave me painkillers for my nose, but nothing can numb the pain of realizing your own parents care more about your abuser than about you. My grandmother has been amazing through all of this. She's helping me look for my own apartment and has offered to cover my rent until I'm back on my feet. My workplace has been understanding too, giving me paid leave to recover and deal with the legal proceedings. I never thought things would escalate to this point, but I can't pretend everything is fine anymore. My sister could have killed me if my grandmother hadn't been there. Despite my parents' protests, I'm going through with the charges both against my sister for assault and against them for enabling her abuse. The hardest part is accepting that I'll probably never have a normal relationship with my family. But after what happened, maybe that's for the best. Right now, I'm focusing on healing and building a new life away from their toxic influence. Update 2. A lot has happened since my last update. The biggest news is that my sister has been formally charged with aggravated assault. The district attorney took one look at my medical records, the police photos, and my grandmother's witness statement and decided to pursue serious charges. They're not offering her a plea deal because she has a history of violent behavior that my family had previously covered up. During the investigation, they discovered that my sister had been involved in several unreported violent incidents in college, which led to her dropping out. Our parents had paid off the victims to keep quiet. This pattern of enabling her behavior has now become part of the case against both her and our parents. The psychological evaluation ordered by the court revealed some disturbing things about my sister's mental state. I can't share the specific details due to legal reasons, but the psychiatrist's report indicated that she poses a significant risk to others, especially to me. This report has been crucial in keeping her in custody despite our parents' attempts to bail her out. Speaking of our parents, they're facing their own legal troubles now. The investigation into my sister's assault led to a deeper look into our family history. Child Protective Services got involved, even though I'm now an adult, because there was evidence of long-term abuse and neglect. The texts and emails I had saved where they threatened to kick me out if I told anyone about the abuse, have become key evidence. My old school records also showed a pattern. Teachers had reported concerns about my home situation multiple times, but our parents always managed to explain it away. My grandmother's lawyer has been incredibly thorough. He found witnesses from our old neighborhood who had seen concerning incidents over the years. Several of my former teachers came forward with documented incidents of my sister's violence and our parents' negligence in addressing it. One particularly damaging piece of evidence was a video from a family gathering 3 years ago, where my sister had a violent outburst and our parents blamed me for triggering her by getting academic honors. My aunt had recorded it, thinking it was just another family moment, but now it clearly shows the dysfunctional dynamics. Our extended family has completely turned against my parents. Several relatives have come forward with their own stories of witnessing abuse that they regret not reporting earlier. My grandmother has been particularly vocal, sharing how our parents manipulated her by hiding the extent of what was happening in our home. The financial aspects of the case have also been revealing. Our parents had been using my college fund to pay for my sister's therapy, which she never actually attended, and to cover up her violent incidents. They had also been draining their retirement accounts to keep her comfortable while forcing me to take out student loans. My grandmother, upon learning this, has decided to revise her will. She's removing my sister and parents entirely, saying she won't have her money used to enable more abuse. This news sent my parents into a panic. Apparently, they had been counting on that inheritance to support my sister long term. The workplace situation has evolved as well. My company has been incredibly supportive, especially after learning the full story. They've approved my transfer to a different branch in a neighboring state where my grandmother has a second home. This move will put several hundred miles between me and my family, which feels necessary for my safety. I'm also getting help setting up my new life. My grandmother has connected me with a trauma therapist who specializes in family abuse cases. The sessions have been eye-opening. I'm learning that what I thought was normal family dynamics was actually systematic abuse designed to keep me compliant and silent. The hardest part has been dealing with the continued harassment from my parents. They've been trying to contact me through every possible channel, alternating between threats and guilt tripping. One minute they're telling me I'm destroying the family. The next they're begging me to drop the charges because families should stick together. Their latest tactic has been to spread lies about me to anyone who will listen, claiming I'm mentally unstable and making up stories for attention. Fortunately, the evidence speaks for itself, and most people have seen through their attempts to discredit me. My sister's lawyer tried to approach me about dropping the charges in exchange for her agreeing to get mental health treatment, but my grandmother's lawyer shut that down immediately. The evidence is too strong, and the prosecutor believes this case needs to set a precedent about family violence. The court proceedings have been moving surprisingly quickly. The prosecutor says my case is particularly strong because of the documented history of abuse, the clear physical evidence, and my grandmother's eyewitness testimony. They're pushing for my sister to receive mandatory psychiatric treatment along with jail time. As for my parents, they're facing multiple charges related to child endangerment and neglect. The prosecutor is particularly interested in their pattern of covering up my sister's violent behavior, as it shows they were aware of the danger but continued to expose me to it. I've started packing up my life, preparing for the move to my new job location. It's strange going through my belongings, realizing how little I actually own, because so much was given to my sister over the years. My grandmother has been helping me shop for furniture for my new apartment, insisting that I deserve to have nice things of my own. The support I've received from unexpected places has been overwhelming. Former classmates have reached out with their own stories of witnessing my sister's behavior. My high school guidance counselor sent a powerful letter to the court describing her concerns from years ago. Even some of my sister's former victims have come forward, strengthening the case. Looking ahead, I'm both scared and hopeful. I'm scared of starting over in a new city, but I'm hopeful about building a life free from abuse and manipulation. My therapist says these feelings are normal and that it will take time to process everything that's happened. The legal proceedings will likely continue for several months, but my grandmother's lawyer assures me I won't have to be present for most of it. The evidence is strong enough to stand on its own, and they want to minimize my contact with my family. It's been 6 months since my last update, and I'm finally ready to share how everything has concluded. The most significant development is the trial and its aftermath. The court proceedings were more intense and revealing than I could have imagined. The prosecution presented a comprehensive timeline of abuse spanning over 15 years. They had gathered evidence from multiple sources, school records, medical reports, witness statements, and even old social media posts that documented the pattern of abuse. My sister received a 3-year prison sentence with mandatory psychiatric treatment. The judge was particularly harsh in the sentencing, citing not only the premeditated nature of her attack on me, but also the extensive history of violent behavior that emerged during the trial. The psychiatric evaluation revealed several untreated mental health conditions. But as the judge noted, her consistent refusal of treatment and our parents' enabling behavior made her a continued threat to others. The most powerful testimony came from my high school guidance counselor. She detailed multiple incidents where I came to school with visible bruises or in obvious distress. She had filed reports with Child Protective Services 3 times, but my parents had always managed to convince the investigators that everything was fine. She broke down crying on the stand, apologizing for not doing more to help me. Her testimony was crucial in establishing the long-term pattern of abuse and our parents' role in concealing it. My sister's former roommate's testimony was particularly devastating to my parents' defense. She provided detailed accounts of violent episodes in their shared dorm room, including video evidence she had secretly recorded. The footage showed my sister destroying property during her rages, followed by our parents arriving to clean up and pay for damages. What really shocked the court was the casual way my parents handled these incidents, treating them as normal and even apologizing to my sister for her distress. During the trial, 5 more of her former classmates came forward with similar stories. Each incident followed the same pattern. She would become enraged when someone challenged her position or received attention she felt she deserved, attack them, and then our parents would sweep in with money and threats to keep everything quiet. The prosecutor established that my parents had spent over $200,000 covering up these incidents over the years. The case against my parents was equally damning. They were found guilty of child endangerment and negligence, receiving a suspended sentence and substantial fines. But the real punishment has been social and financial. The trial exposed their years of manipulation and cover-ups, leading to consequences they never expected. My father, who was a respected manager at his company, was asked to resign once the details of the trial became public. His former colleagues came forward with stories of how he had used his position to pressure employees into keeping quiet about my sister's behavior when she would show up at his workplace during her episodes. The company conducted an internal investigation and found he had misused corporate resources to handle my sister's situations. My mother's social standing has completely crumbled. She was on several community boards and charity committees, positions she used to maintain their perfect family image. During the trial, other board members revealed how she had manipulated various situations to cover up my sister's behavior, even using charitable funds to help troubled youth as a way to pay off victims. She's been removed from all her positions, and several organizations are conducting audits of their finances. Their last attempt to contact me was particularly revealing. They sent a letter through their lawyer, not apologizing, but offering to forgive me if I helped restore their reputation. The letter suggested I could tell everyone I had exaggerated things for attention and that we could all move forward as a family. They even promised to set up a trust fund for me using my grandmother's expected inheritance. I didn't respond, but I kept the letter as a reminder of their true nature. The financial fallout has been severe. Beyond the legal fines, they're facing multiple civil suits from my sister's previous victims. The revelation of their cover-ups has encouraged others to come forward. Their legal fees are mounting, and they've had to put their house up for sale. My grandmother's decision to remove them from her will was the final blow, apparently. They had been counting on that inheritance to maintain their lifestyle and continue supporting my sister. Speaking of my grandmother, she's become my strongest ally. She made her announcement about the inheritance at a large family gathering, stating firmly that she wouldn't have her legacy used to enable abuse. She's also helped me buy a small house in my new state, something I never thought possible at my age. She insisted that after years of being denied basic possessions, I deserved a place that was truly mine. The process of building my new life has been both challenging and liberating. My new job in the tech sector has been incredibly supportive. After learning about my situation, my manager created a flexible work arrangement that allowed me to attend therapy sessions and court proceedings without using up my vacation time. Therapy has been transformative. My therapist specializes in family trauma and has helped me understand the depth of manipulation I experienced. We've uncovered how my parents systematically undermined my self-confidence while making me feel responsible for my sister's emotional state. One breakthrough came when analyzing my parents' favorite phrase, "Family should stick together." My therapist helped me see how they weaponized this concept to maintain control. The most profound change has been in my ability to form healthy relationships. In my new community, I've made genuine friends who show me what normal interactions look like. They celebrate my successes without feeling threatened, respect boundaries without guilt-tripping, and offer support without demanding something in return. It's a complete contrast to what I grew up thinking was normal. My sister's situation in prison has reinforced my decision to maintain permanent distance. The mandatory psychiatric treatment has revealed several concerning patterns. Her counselor contacted my lawyer to inform us that she's been resistant to treatment, still insisting that she's the victim and that I somehow orchestrated everything to hurt her. She's already lost privileges for aggressive behavior toward other inmates. My parents' attempts to salvage their situation have become increasingly desperate. Their most recent scheme involved trying to organize a family intervention through our church, claiming I had been led astray by my grandmother's influence. The pastor, who had seen the court evidence, refused to participate and instead publicly condemned their behavior during a sermon about protecting the vulnerable. The extended family's response has been eye-opening. Several cousins have shared stories about how my parents manipulated family gatherings to maintain their narrative. They would carefully control who I could talk to and what I could say, always ensuring my sister was portrayed as the fragile victim while I was the difficult child. My aunt recently apologized for believing them, sharing emails where my mother had systematically painted me as jealous and unstable. My new home has become my sanctuary. Each room I furnished represents another step toward creating the life I want, not the one my family tried to force me into. It's amazing how healing it can be to simply choose your own furniture, paint colors, and decorations without having to consider whether it might trigger someone's rage or resentment. At work, I've started mentoring junior developers, something my parents always discouraged because teaching others would make my sister feel inferior. I've even started dating someone I met through a professional networking event. He's kind, respectful, and most importantly, understands the importance of boundaries. His family has welcomed me warmly, and experiencing their healthy dynamics has been both healing and eye-opening. Watching his siblings support each other's successes instead of competing has shown me what family relationships should look like. The financial aftermath for my parents continues to unfold. They've had to sell their house and move to a small apartment. Several of my sister's former victims have won civil judgments against them, and they're facing potential bankruptcy. Their reputation in the community is so damaged that my father had to take it up in another state, ironically becoming as isolated as they once tried to keep me. The most liberating realization has been accepting that I don't need to feel guilty about cutting ties with my family. They made their choices consistently over many years, choosing to enable and justify abuse rather than protect their younger daughter. My choice to prioritize my safety and well-being isn't just valid, it's necessary for survival. Recent events have only confirmed my decision. My sister attempted to appeal her sentence, with our parents trying to hire an expensive appeals lawyer. When that failed, they orchestrated a social media campaign claiming judicial bias, which backfired spectacularly when people started sharing their own experiences with my sister's violence. The local newspaper ran a feature story about the case, interviewing several of her former victims and highlighting the pattern of parental cover-ups. My grandmother has decided to relocate closer to me, having sold her house in our hometown. She's purchased a small condo just 20 minutes from my place, giving me the family support I never had growing up. She's also connected me with a network of successful businesswomen who have become incredible mentors. Some people have asked if I would ever consider reconciling with my family. The answer to that is a resounding and firm no. Through everything that has happened, I've come to understand a crucial truth. Simply sharing the same DNA with someone does not mean you have to endure their mistreatment or accept their abusive behavior. Family is not defined by blood alone. It's about mutual respect, care, and support. Over time, I've learned that sometimes the healthiest and most fulfilling family you can have is the one you choose for yourself, the one that treats you with kindness, empathy, and unconditional love. Qualities that I never found in my own family. Recently, my parents made another attempt to reach out, this time through a family friend, trying once again to offer me a lifeline in the form of financial support if I would return to the family fold. However, this gesture was yet again devoid of any real accountability or recognition of the pain they caused. It was merely another attempt to maintain their appearance, to cover up their wrongdoings, and to make me feel like I owed them something for the sacrifices they made, which were, at best, self-serving. This latest attempt only served to reinforce my decision to keep my distance. It confirmed that no matter what they offered, I would never feel at peace among people who were unable or unwilling to take responsibility for their actions. When I compare my life now to what it was before, the contrast is staggering. My past was filled with anxiety, constant fear, and a sense of never truly belonging, while today I can breathe freely. I no longer feel the need to apologize for my successes or achievements, something I had to do constantly when I lived under the same roof as my parents. I can leave my belongings out without the constant dread of them being destroyed, taken, or ruined simply because someone else decided they were entitled to them. In my current life, I can invite friends over without the nagging fear of unpredictable, violent outbursts or emotional manipulation ruining a simple gathering. These may seem like small, trivial things to most people, but for me, they are treasures, freedoms that I never thought I would experience. Yet they feel so incredibly precious. I've finally found peace in my own space, in my own life, free from the toxicity and emotional toll that came with my family. I don't have to hide, I don't have to fear, and I no longer need to seek validation or approval from people who were supposed to love and care for me. That peace is something I'll never take for granted again. Life is filled with challenges that we can't always foresee, especially when we face them with those closest to us in our family. The story of the young woman in this video is a stark example of what it feels like when sacrifice goes unnoticed, and what happens when family love turns into a burden instead of a source of support and encouragement. Her actions and decisions showcase the strength it takes to cut off toxic relationships and rebuild one's life, despite the difficulties and challenges. This story serves not only as a warning to those caught in a family lacking respect and genuine love, but also as a lesson about independence and the right to live a free, happy life. Through this story, we learn that protecting oneself and one's happiness is of utmost importance. Even though it's painful, severing toxic relationships is a necessary step to move forward, to regain peace and freedom. The young woman in this story did the right thing by escaping the suffocating family environment, where every step she took was controlled by selfishness and manipulation. If you find this story relatable and resonate with the challenges in your own life, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss any other inspiring stories. Our channel will always stand by you, bringing stories filled with hope and valuable life lessons. Don't hesitate to share this story with those you think may benefit from it, because we believe that by sharing these stories, we can help many realize they are not alone in their journey toward happiness and freedom. Keep following us so you don't miss new videos that carry powerful messages, fresh perspectives on life, and invaluable lessons that we believe will change your life. Thank you for always being with us in each story, and remember to subscribe to never miss any updates in the future.